All right, welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here, my name is Michael Johnson. I'm a racing driver, coach. In this channel, we are dedicated to helping drivers get on track. Today we're at Evasive Motorsports. We're going to speak with Mike, the owner of Evasive, and we're going to talk a little bit about how he likes to get set up for a track day. We're going to go over some safety gear and some of the other important items you'll want to bring with you for your first day on track. All right, hey Mike, thank you so much for having us to the shop today. Excited to be here at Evasive Motorsport. And for our audience, I've got a lot of folks that might be new to the shop, new to the channel even. What do you guys do here at Evasive Motorsports?
As you can tell, we sell a lot of parts here. We're also a full service facility. We do, obviously alignments. We have, a lot of racks. We do everything from oil changes to full race car builds. And we stock a lot of the popular parts from Japan too, so kind of a one-stop shop.
Very cool,
yeah.
Very cool. So on our channel, we've got a lot of drivers that are here, and they might be new to the sport. Might be they're getting ready for their first track day. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. But before we jump into that, I wanted to ask you some questions. Like, how did you get started in this sport? Like, what got you into motorsports?
It's like everyone. You have, my first car that I tracked was a Honda S2000.
Okay.
And we still work on those cars till today. You'll know as soon as you get on track, man, this is a feeling you want to chase day in, day out. It's just nothing like it. So it's a lot of thrills, excitement, and that's kind of where we started.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're in the S2000. Now, were you here in Southern California? Where did you get started? Which track were you
California, yeah, Buttonwillow.
Buttonwillow,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
LA's favorite track.
Basically, it was there like once a week.
Very
in the
cool.
beginning, yeah.
And was it what brought you out there? Was it buddies? Like what?
Yeah.
Did you go on your own?
Yeah. So like we had a bunch of people who owned the same cars. We all had S2000s.
Okay.
And then it was like a friendly competition where like, oh man, you heard he ran this certain time, so you try to improve your skills, maybe improve the car, you go back out, and then before you know it, like we're kind of just like racing each other and against ourselves too. And it's fun, and that's kind of how it progressed. Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. I love that. So you had a whole club, a whole group of buddies going out running with.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Now, where did Evasive come from? Was Evasive before or after your start in track
before.
Okay.
So we started in 2002.
Okay.
Obviously, very small beginnings. We were just selling little accessories, lug nuts and stuff, and then slowly evolved into a larger facility like this. And then it was not until we started tracking, we got more serious and involved with time attack. And
okay.
That's when we built our first time attack car, which is in 2006, which is the Evo 9. And that car, took us to more of a competitive level with a lot of other shops. And then from there, we've raced everything you could think of,
Very cool.
GR86 FRS, even a Tesla. And then we have an S2000 being worked on right now that's getting sent to Australia for World Time Attack. So.
And who's going to be piloting that car?
Dai
Yoshihara.
Our good friend Dai, yes.
Yeah, our good friend Dai Yoshihara.
Yeah.
Fantastic driver, better person.
Yeah.
Real wheel man. So when did Dai join Evasive? When did he start running with you guys?
I think it started about 6 years ago.
Okay.
He first did, I think it was Row Atlanta. In the 2J Power FRS back there, we did a time attack with Global Time Attack.
Very cool. Very cool. And so that kind of leads me to the next question. Like you've gotten to do a lot here at Evasive. From the humble beginnings with the S2000 to things that you see behind us and some other things that you can't see behind us, but some really incredible machines. What would you say are some of your best experiences you've had with the company in motorsport since you got started?
I think it's the most memorable is probably in 2020. That was the year of COVID, but we still did Pikes Peak that year. They didn't allow anybody to spectate, so it was just the teams. So we all got to really focus and do what we do. That was the year that we actually won Unlimited class with Dai.
Super cool.
Yeah. So and it wasn't easy because we had to overcome a lot of challenges. The engine was having issues, transmission broke. We had all these things to do, and then it all came together last minute, and we did well. So that was probably the most memorable
Yeah, super
moment,
cool. Yeah, it's some of those things you can't plan for it, but you can certainly do your best.
Exactly.
And when you come out on top is pretty incredible feeling.
Right.
So, well, very cool. Well, let's jump into it. Thank you for bringing us to your shop, and wanted to talk about our driver. We've this channel is focused on helping those new drivers that might not have a lot of track experience getting on the track. And one of the most important things for me, at least as a racer, is preparation.
Right.
It's making sure we've got everything correct, everything set up. And so I wanted to talk a little bit with you about how you would set up a car for a driver that's doing their first track day.
I think the most important thing we all both know is like you have to have working brakes, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I recommend people is get a good set of brake pads. Make sure your brake rotors are in good condition. Brake fluid is very important also because that's probably the first thing to kind of boil over and you will lose brakes. Make sure the tires are in good condition. Make sure that your suspension bushings. If it's an older car, make sure all these things are not worn out. Because they could cause a lot of issues on track.
Yeah.
Obviously, safety. If you could run a proper roll bar with or harness bar with a proper harness, it will help you kind of it will safer and also keep you planted in your seat, and a proper racing seat too. And obviously helmet and.
Yeah.
You basically don't need that much, just those few little things that you're ready to go to the track.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And you kind of blew through the list right there. That was everything.
Yeah.
And really, when looking to get the car set up for the track, for me, the things that are really, really important, safety first and foremost.
Yep.
Secondly, we want a car that's going to be reliable. So I know something that you guys do here, and a lot of other speed shops, they'll offer kind of like a pre-track day inspection.
Yeah.
What does a track day inspection normally entail? What does that kind of thing look like?
Yeah, kind of went over already. Like obviously check the brakes, we check the bushings, we check the, make sure the engine's in correct running order, all the fluids are topped off, and make sure there's no loose nuts and bolts, lug nuts. Make sure all these are tight. Make sure the tires are not old and worn out. If it has a really weird, wear on it, and then obviously perform a proper alignment to make sure the car is driving nice and straight with the proper camber you want to set up for the track. So
yeah, thank you for mentioning that camber or track alignment. Super important to help with the predictability of the car.
Right.
When you're driving at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour on your city road type speeds, you might not notice the car pulls to one direction or the other. And when you're just cruising around, you might not be wearing out the tires like you certainly will be on the track. And
for sure.
So with that alignment, doing things like making sure that the wheels are rolling true. We talk about toe. Make sure the tires are pointing the correct direction, and then camber being very important, especially on like a big GT car like you see behind us. So for those heavier, more powerful cars, super important to make sure we have the camber correct. In that way, you're not going to be damaging like that outside sidewall of the tire and things like that. So, yeah, very good point there. You talked a little bit about brake fluid. I'd like to touch on that again. So, why do we change out the brake fluid before we head on track?
Because I think factory brake fluid is just not. It's not made for the type of driving you would put the car through. On a track environment, it easily boils over beyond its operating temperature. And when that happens, like basically your brake system will not. Your pedal will go straight to the floor. You're not going to feel much in the brakes. And that's why there's many companies that make aftermarket brake fluids that's more catered to higher temperature. Better pedal feel. We have Motul, we have Project Mu, Endless. It goes on and on. And we usually could recommend a good fluid based on the type of car it is, the setup, what type of driving it's going to be. You know, there's different levels to these fluids too. So.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, and that's something that I can speak from personal experience. I've been in a heavier car. Won't mention the make or model when the brake fluid hadn't been changed, and once we got on track with those higher braking forces, higher temperatures, the brake system actually failed. Thankfully, I'm still here today, but that was a very, very scary moment. So it's something that I really encourage all my drivers to make sure that you've got fresh high temp brake fluid, and it's something that you'll change it out periodically. Is that correct?
I would flush it after every track event, because you can never be too safe about having that fresh and ready to go every time. Yeah.
Perfect. Right on. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Something else you mentioned is tires, and tires are very important, because that's literally the 4 black rubber patches that keeps us on the road.
Right.
And a lot of drivers, they'll go for 20,000, 30,000 miles on a set of tires, but that changes once we go on the track. And so maybe you can tell what's your normal track day protocol for tires, and how long do tires last on track, and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have to realize, like, tires, they have an expiration, especially when being used on track. So I think a lot of people think that, oh, these tires, if you look at the tread blocks, it looks nice and new, right? But there's actually a date on the tire you look at. The tire is like 5 years old. I would recommend changing them, because it's not going to feel like that's how it's supposed to feel. So, obviously, if you look at a tread and it's worn out, change them out, and there's a lot of, these days, the tire technology is so good that, most performance street tires are very, very fast, and they're very, very good tires, but they do wear out, especially if you have, improper alignment. If you drive it really hard, the vehicle is heavy, they wear out relatively quick. So I would keep an eye on them, and just to make sure that they're in good condition before going out. So
right on. Yeah, I think it's a very good point, especially for our drivers that might be heading on track for the first time. Those black rubber patches, those are going to be what are going to keep you safe and stable out there on track. So very good point. A few other things around the car that you might point out to us. I think there's like an old saying, we talk about the tow hooks.
Yeah.
As long as you've got a tow hook on the car, you'll never need it. But the day you don't have it is when you definitely need it.
Yeah.
So how do those work?
So most cars have a factory tow hook location that you can screw on either your factory tow hook, which a lot of cars do come with it. So it's simple as just putting it on. They usually recommend one for the front and one for the rear, ideally, in case they have to pull you out backwards or whatnot. So I recommend people getting tow hooks for front and back. And if your car doesn't have a factory tow mounting location, they sell tow straps that you can easily bolt to, like maybe a bumper support or whatnot. That way it just gives the safety workers a place to actually pull your car out.
Because they're going to pull it out.
Yeah, if they don't find anything, they'll pull it from something, and you don't want that,
so
it might cause some damage. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Last thing, maybe we could talk a little bit more on that. You mentioned the roll bars. You mentioned like those seats. What does a seat do? What do those harnesses do for a driver as well?
I think when we talk about like seats, harnesses, and roll cage, roll bar, I think they have to be kind of all working together in order to actually function properly. I want to recommend people not to just get a bucket seat and use factory seatbelt, because that's what it's designed for. If you're going to use your factory seatbelt, leave your stock seat in there. It will work better that way. If you're going to mount a harness and not to a proper harness bar or a roll cage, maybe don't get a harness. Just use your factory seatbelt. But if you could do it, like this car right here, it has a bucket seat, roll cage, and a proper 6-point harness, it's probably the safest way you can go about going on track.
Right.
Number one, it's going to keep you in place when you're braking hard, cornering. You're not going to slide around the seat and like try to fight the steering wheel and whatnot. So better seating position, just better in all ways. And you know, it's like when you're in the proper seat, it just feels so much better on track.
Well, that's absolutely right, and
Yeah.
it's something that, like, I certainly see, and we shouldn't stop drivers from going on track without a factory seat. But what ends up happening is, you know, when you don't have that side support, when you don't have that bolstering to hold you in place, you end up using your arm strength a lot. So rather than having that agility in your steering with your arms and your shoulders, you're actually trying to support your body and hold yourself up. So that's where the racing seats come in. You know, and if you can get the harnesses, that's even a better step.
Yeah.
It really locks you in place.
Locks you in place. And in case if you do get in an accident, the seat, it does offer some sort of protection for your body as far as impact goes.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So so certainly a really good feature that if you can add it to your track day car, certainly recommend that.
Right. Plus it saves a lot of weight.
That's right. Well, that's true. Yeah. So we're not talking about going fast yet. You know, we're just you know, excited to head on track, and we want to be safe. You know, be stable out there and have a reliable ride.
Exactly.
So very cool. You know, with that in mind, one of the things that we're not talking about today is lap timers, which is, I know, something that Evasive has.
Yes.
A lot of great lap timer systems, but I do think a video camera, which you can use like a GoPro type setup or some other type of camera is wonderful for your first day on track. But one of the big keys for me as a coach and a driver is to focus on good technique first. You know, we start to develop good driving technique at a slow speed, and then the byproduct of that good technique is good lap times. But we want to be focused on that first, and then not, you know, going right after those lap times. Right. Well, straight away at least.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Be safe first, consistent, and then we build up the speed. So Mike, thank you so much for having us by the shop. Thank you for sharing your space with us and some of your very valuable information and experience getting drivers on track.
Definitely. No problem. Thanks for coming by.
My pleasure. Thank you. So thank you for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you've got a new perspective. You've got your car set up. You're ready to get on track for your first event. We'd like to also thank Mike at Evasive Motorsports for hosting us today. Incredible car, incredible facility, and having a few minutes to chat with us and share some of his insight with all of us. So for our next episodes coming up, we're going to start diving into the good stuff. We're going to start getting into some coaching, start giving you some of my philosophies, some of the things I like to think about as we get ready to head on track.